Please subscribe to our channel. Moving to Cardiff, Juventus came with the proud record of having conceded just 3 goals in their Champions League campaign this season. The side looked arguably more balanced than Real Madrid. At the same time, they were facing a Real Madrid side that had rampaged into their second consecutive final. Most of the players in the team have memories of winning the trophy, while those in Juventus only remember the disappointment they faced in Berlin against Barcelona. The Mavens had predicted a narrow win for both teams in equal measure. A win it was for Real Madrid, but it was anything but a narrow one. Juventus were the better side in the first half. Although Real Madrid were hogging possession, they were hounded by Juve shirts as soon as they got to the final third. Juventus, for their part, were looking dangerous on the counter. But the presence of Cristiano Ronaldo was always going to be a boost for Real, and it proved to be so. The Portuguese captain played a 1-2 with Dani Carvajal before taking a shot from just inside the box. It took a slight deflection of Leonardo Bonucci and went past Buffon. Real were in front, despite being second best. But Juventus responded in the best possible way. Minutes later, Alex Sandro hoisted the ball into the box. It was chested down by Higuain, and who then put it to Mario Mandzukic. The Croat chested the ball down himself before going for an audacious overhead kick. It floated over Keylor Navas, despite the Real keeper being in full stretch, and went to the back of the net. It was then a bit of a stalemate, and the 1-1 scoreline at halftime did justice to how the game went. In the second half, Real came out all guns blazing. In the 61st minute, Casemiro took a shot from a distance from where he has no right to score. But, before the ball covers too much distance, it took a scrape of the heels of Sami Khedira. That put it past the grip of Buffon, and Real were in the lead again. Just over 2 minutes later, Cristiano Ronaldo slotted the ball past Buffon after some nippy work from Luka Modric, and Real were 3 up. Juventus looked down and out after that, but the result would have been truly confirmed for the hopeless optimist only after Jovan Cuadrado was sent off thanks to some very typical Sergio Ramos antics. Juventus fans had found their villain for the night, but the game was well and truly lost then. Marco Asensio, who came in for Isco, scored another, and suddenly, Juventus had lost the match by an even more humiliating margin than what it was in the 2015 final against Barcelona. Gianluigi Buffon almost had an expression of resignation as he walked around the pitch after the match. This was the third Champions League final for the Italian keeper in his near 22-year career. Depending on the way Juventus play, he may get another crack at the title next year. But what is sure is that we are living in the era of Real Madrid. Nobody wanted a repeat of 2015. At least, nobody who was on this side of the Champions League final, where Juventus was again playing one of La Liga's 2 true giants. We didn't want to see another loss in a European final happen. Not by a long shot. It didn't matter how it happened, just avoid another crushing defeat on the biggest of European stages. And yet, it did. For the second Champions League final in the last 3 years, Juventus finished on the wrong side of the final scoreline. Instead of seeing Gigi Buffon lift the Champions League trophy for the first time in his career, we were left to see our legendary captain fight back his emotions as Real Madrid scored a pair of second-half goals to take the lead for good. The Juventus from the first half wasn't there coming out of the break. It's as simple as that. Juve were arguably the better side in the opening 45 minutes. In the second half, not even close to the same team. What the hell happened to Juventus at halftime? I sure as hell would like to know, because I'm struggling to figure it out. Things looked so good to open the game. So good. And that's even with Cristiano Ronaldo scoring his 500th Champions League goal this season to give Real Madrid the lead. Then Mario Mandzukic scored one of the best goals you'll ever see in a Champions League final, and you're thinking so many happy thoughts. Then it just all fell apart. Another deflected goal. Another Ronaldo goal. And then Max Allegri subs of Paulo Dybala for Mario Lemina, and the white flag is basically raised. It was a second half Juventus would like to forget almost immediately, one where they looked like a shell of the team we saw for a good portion of the Champions League knockout rounds, and then the opening half in Cardiff. Instead, this will be a second half that nobody will forget, simply because of how bad it turned out being. So bad. The final score reads 4-1 in favor of Real Madrid, the first team to repeat as champions since the Champions League became the Champions League. But with how the first half went and then how the second half went, it feels so much worse than that. Finishing the season with a domestic double isn't a bad thing. But having to settle for 2 titles just feels so disappointing, knowing how Juventus had a chance to take home all 3 trophies they were playing for this season. Can we redo that second half? I sure would like to redo that second half. It was time for Juventus to win their first Champions League trophy in 21 years. It was time to win the treble. And then, poof, it wasn't. This stinks.